Good evening to you, and thanks so much for joining Africa News Network First Fast Live. My name is Cindy Mabi, and this is our top story. Johannesburg Executive Mayor Councillor Herman Mashaba is said to face a motion of no confidence brought by the ANC in the City Council tomorrow. The EFF could hold the votes that would decide Mashaba's future. And Nobesu Tuhejane has more.
The motion comes after the official opposition in the city claimed that Johannesburg Mayor Herman Mashaba had made himself guilty of financial mismanagement. The ANC also accused Mashaba and the Speaker of delaying voting processes and is also confident that the motion will succeed with or without the support of the EFF.
The EFF has not confirmed that they will be supporting us. It's quite a difficult discussion with the EFF. As you know, they have not supported us in the past. We tried very hard to persuade them, but at the moment we're thinking that it might be perhaps necessary for us to drop the discussion with the EFF, because we have put on the table all the facts that necessitate that Mashaba must go. They have acknowledged some of these things, but they are not quite clear.
A confident Mashaba told the media that he is not worried and that the ANC is fighting the wrong person.
We don't have to wait for 24 years. So only have to wait just over 24 hours time. This item is on the agenda and it's going to be robustly debated, and council will decide on its fate. Honestly, it's not about me. It's not a one-man show that I decide. This is not a dictator arrangement. Here we're running a constitutional democracy where the will of the people is respected. And that's what exactly what we're going to do. So let's wait tomorrow when this item is presented, and then council will vote.
I'm going to call upon
The council speaker says he has full confidence in their members.
Well, I'm feeling fine. I think the coalition is fine. And all our partners are fine. I think we have worked on it, and hopefully tomorrow we'll pull it through. And I just think that the motions are obviously frivolous. We all know that. I think the administration has come from dealing with a lot of corruption, now starting to really move and ensuring that our people are able to get services.
The ANC currently has 119 councillors in the 270-seat council. The party could possibly have the support of the Patriotic Alliance with 1 seat and the African Independent Congress with 4. It is, however, the EFF's 30 seats that could help the ANC achieve its objective, and only time will tell which the economic freedom fighters will swing. Nobesu Tuhejane, Johannesburg.
And here are some reasons for the ANC's anti-Mashaba motion. Firstly, there's allegations of material flaws within the city's integrated development plan. The majority of residents are said to have been excluded in the IDP consultation meetings, and violence that categorize some IDP consultation meetings cannot go unchallenged. And joining us on the line is Jodeli Matongo, ANC Johannesburg spokesperson, and Luyanda Mfeka, Acting Director of Communications in the Office of the Executive Mayor of Johannesburg. Mosiriziani is the South African Liberty Foundation Chairperson, Botsang Muilwa, a political analyst joining us in studio. And we believe that your time is constrained, Mr. Mfeka. Just very briefly, in terms of the attitude or demeanor that we saw from the Executive Mayor and the Speaker, that may be belying a more sinister problem within the coalition government in the city?
So I'm not too sure what we would refer to as a sinister problem within the coalition, but I think the sentiments expressed by the mayor and the speaker are exactly what we think of the motion. The motion is ultimately frivolous. There was ample opportunity, particularly within the court process that the ANC instituted for them to actually display to us what they mean by, or at least what is the basis of their allegations, which they weren't able to do at the time. notably because, well, there is nothing to base that on. But I think ultimately the real importance of this debate and the opportunity that there is within this debate is to be able to discuss the matter within council, in the public domain, and for the administration to talk about its record and what it's done, and also to talk about the kind of a chaotic situation it inherited from the ANC when we moved into government.
But just to clarify, in terms of the integrated development plan of the city, which essentially speaks of service delivery and the material stakeholders being residents, there is an allegation that this didn't happen in getting communities to also participate in the roadmap of what their city ought to look like.
The IDP process that was undertaken by the city in the last year was more extensive than the IDP that indeed the previous administration undertook. In the previous administration, they managed to reach about 3,000 people as part of their consultation process. We reached about 8, and over and above that, we also received almost 2,000 public written submissions, which we analyzed and undertook as part of that process, to claim that once again that, well, we haven't reached all the stakeholders, or that the administration is indeed responsible for the violence that took place, which was, frankly speaking, coordinated by the ANC, is laughable. So it's a bit of a strange situation, but as is always the case, we're more than happy to meet them in court, and that we'll let the judicial system become the final arbitrators of this dispute.
And in your view, is this a realistic probability that the EFF could possibly vote with the ANC in the no confidence motion?
Look, I can't speak for the EFF in this situation. Ultimately, they must be able to make a decision of their own conscience. I can say, however, I think that on the issue of letting the ANC back into power and for them to continue their legacy of corruption and chaotic governance, if you will, that's something we on the issues agree on. And we'd like to certainly believe that they wouldn't want to support an ANC government which would return and do those things. So, but ultimately, if you're really interested in having a comment from them, it's best to ask them, and they must be able to speak for themselves.
All right, so you have no concerns, rather, in that regard, or even wanting to explore whether it's a probability or not, as the main coalition shareholder, I suppose, for lack of a better phrase.
Well, it's important to note that they're not a member of our coalition. The EFF is its own independent group, and they vote with us issue by issue basis. But certainly on this particular issue, and based on past interactions, I don't think there's any reason for concern at all.
All right, Mr. Mfeka, thanks for your time. That's Luyanda Mfeka, Acting Director of Communications in the Office of the Executive Mayor of Johannesburg. Good evening, gentlemen. Botsang, I'll start with you. Just in your response, that's not the first time that the ANC in Joburg has asked for Herman Mashaba to go.
Well, good evening, Cindy, and the viewers. Good evening, Musire. You know what? It has been granted for the DA to talk about going to seek judicial, intervention if the ANC proceed with this. It's a totally separate matter to go to court and challenge allegations. It's a separate matter. This is a motion to remove the mayor. It is well within the constitutional right of the African National Congress as a party that is participating in the politics of the city. And they have done it. What the ANC is doing actually is they're giving DA its own medicine. They've done it several times in the National Assembly, and they're doing it in Joburg. But I think the discussion and the worry at the moment is, will the EFF abstain? I don't think the EFF will sit and vote with the ANC. I think they've got more pride, and I don't see Julius Malema and the team giving any vote to the ANC. It's anything else but ANC. However, what the DA seems to be worried about is if the EFF abstain, and abstaining is as equal as voting with the ANC. If they abstain, we should also recall that for the DA to stand up and say this is not a coalition, EFF is an independent organization, we know that that's a fallacy, because we all know that DA or Herman Mashaba came into power due to the votes of the EFF. So if the EFF abstain from voting, they will not be able to retain him and the Speaker of the Metro in that power. What will happen after, it's another different ball game, but I doubt if the EFF will vote with the ANC.
All right, let's get a response from Jolly D. Matongo, ANC Johannesburg spokesperson. Good evening to you and thanks so much for your time. Just your response in that this is a frivolous exercise, that the ANC indeed is trying to cover up the corruption investigations currently underway.
Well, good evening and good evening to the listeners. It's not a frivolous motion. It's a motion that is taking into account the dire situation that the city of Johannesburg finds itself. It's our responsibility as the ANC voted into office by 45% of the electorate to point out things that are going wrong in the municipality. We are sitting with a situation where the city does not have the financial resources to deliver services to the citizens of Johannesburg. Just today, the financial reports were presented to the city, the performance reports on finances, both on operational and capital expenditure, were presented and debated in the city council today. So the GA itself, by their own admission, and it's presenting the reports, have admitted to the fact that the city is in financial difficulties. So that's the reason why we are calling upon all political parties in the council to support the motion of no confidence on Mashaba, because he has mismanaged and misgoverned the city of Johannesburg.
Yes, but the DA has also criticized the ANC, saying that they have adopted a bankrupt and corrupt city, and therefore it makes it virtually almost impossible to deliver on the expectation of residents.
Well, on bankruptcy, it's a contradiction in terms, because it's at the third council meeting, the MMC for Finance of the DA praised the ANC for having left the city in a healthy financial state. So they can't come today and say the ANC left the city as a bankrupt city. They have admitted in the reports today that they have themselves have presented that the situation has indeed been different from what has been left in the bank accounts of the city. In terms of the corruption narrative, they are talking about 17 billion rand that has been lost to corruption. We have asked them to produce a detailed report detailing all the programs and projects and the monies involved, but also the investigations that have been done in relation to these particular matters. They have failed to provide that kind of information up to so far.
All right, Jolly D. Matongo, ANC Johannesburg spokesperson, joining us on the line, and we have Professor Berihanyane on the phone line from the Northwest. Good evening to you, Professor Hanyane, and thanks so much for your time. Before we go to you, though, Mosiri, in your view, it seems more like a cat and mouse kind of fight, and in the unease of having to coexist in a coalition government, that is the fundamental problem that we're seeing in Johannesburg.
True into that. You see, one of the issues that one really needs to look at is that you would have a DA who says we've inherited a very corrupt municipality from the ANC, but in particular one says that when the ANC takes over, you're talking political heads, you're talking mayor, you're talking deputy mayor, if there is one, you're talking speaker, and all the councillors in particular, or the MMCs that are assisting the mayor. But if you are unable, not for a moment, to point a finger at those, but rather be in a position to point a finger at administrator, anybody can appoint an administrator. It's not a political thing per se. It's not an ANC thing. It is an administrative matter that relates to individuals. Even they themselves, it's the same thing that is happening in the Western Cape, where the DA wants to divorce itself from the administrator and say, no, these administrators are the ones who are corrupt. We as the mayor are clean. So in this instance, it's a different ball game. People want to point a finger and say, no, the ANC is corrupt. But when you ask, who did 1, 2, 3 transactions? It's the administrator. But you don't want to divorce that. This is the scenario that is painted, and rather something that the DA wants South Africans to believe. But there is not on a single day, on a single moment, that there's been a point or a finger pointed at particular mayor and said the mayor X was corrupt in the Council of Johannesburg. That has not happened.
Until now. Okay, Professor Hanyane, good evening to you and thanks for holding. In your view, whether the EFF now has to be decisive and prove on which side they're on. We've heard Julius Malema almost contradicting himself with regards to issues in the public discourse around white monopoly capital, around his or lamenting the regret of having voted with the DA. What do you make out of all of it?
Well,
Professor
good evening.
Hi.
Good evening, Cindy, and good evening to your studio guests there. Look, I don't think the EFF change their stance. Their anti-ANC position since the elections will remain in course for some time to come. I don't see them taking a different position altogether on this issue. They don't want to see the ANC back in charge of whichever metro that they have lost. Instead, the award here is to go towards the 2019 elections, seeing much greater damage being done on the ANC. But to comment a bit on the discussion today, look, I think the ANC stance is rather premature, and this was established in the judgment on the 26th of September this year, that the agency behind it is misplaced. And worst case scenario is to see the ANC coming up with an attempt at unseating the DA very quick in the term of the DA. I would rather provide robust and concrete evidence to the mismanagement of the Joburg city rather than gain some artificial political mileage, which at the end of the day they might not achieve.
So you're saying that they're agitating essentially while this whole arrangement is in its infancy towards 2019 and nothing substantive?
Yeah, no, absolutely. The award here is 2019. I don't see the EFF relinquishing that process. They would want to give the DA their support as much as we understand it's not a true coalition. And I think Mr. Mfeka put it succinctly earlier on, that quite rightly, the evidence on the table, it's not sufficient. Worst case scenario, the DA took over the municipality mid-term to a financial year. They have just started this year on the 1st of July. How on earth do you measure their performance based on the fact that everything else that they inherited is based on a premature timetable? I find that very startling.
Okay, Professor Barry Hanyane, political analyst, thank you so much for joining us. He's a professor with the Northwest University. But in your view, ANC, if this is indeed the strategy, could backfire terribly?
Look, it can backfire. It is possible that it backfires, but that's how politics are. You take chances, you try. Remember, the ANC will want to unseat the sitting DA mayor and then take over power. That's normal in practice in politics, that they will attempt to do that. Whether it is valid through maladministration or non-service delivery and so forth, that's not an issue. It's about political power and regaining the city. And the ANC is banking on all other black parties and all other parties to say, but let us remove DA. Mashaba is not the fit person who can do this. That does not mean if Mashaba is removed, the next mayor of Joburg will become an ANC mayor or ANC legislative member. That doesn't mean that. It could be an EFF. The House can decide who they want to put there. But Cindy, what is said about this whole process, and we have just left local elections, just over a year ago. It's all these politicians where they are sitting. Who is suffering? It is the people of Johannesburg who are suffering from this whole process. A lot of things have been mentioned of non-service delivery. A lot of complaints have come up from the residents of Johannesburg. And the politicians are playing a political game in order to score points, as Prof have said, towards 2019. And I think the ANC is well on its way to try and dismantle, expose the EFF and dismantle this unholy marriage between the DA and the EFF. They've put actually what the ANC has done, it has put the EFF into a spotlight to say now because EFF has been complaining about Mashaba in Joburg. They have been complaining about the DA and its conduct. And the ANC is saying to them, you don't just sit there and complain. Can we act on this jointly? Even if at the end of the day you don't side with us. And it is the EFF that is on spotlight.
But either way, as you were saying, that they would rather vote any other way besides the ANC, as we've seen in the expression of the venom and hatred towards the leader or ANC president. Mosiri, just in where we are right now, this is probably not going to be the end of it until the 5-year term ends for the current administration, and in terms of the municipalities. But come 2019, I think it's a lesson also for South African voters to at least get up and exercise your constitutional right so that there is a clear-cut winner. At the moment, we're sitting with this whole bag of multiple parties, different ideologies, and not a clear leader. In case of the DA, the EFF had to give them the power, so to speak. So where does that leave politics or the political landscape going forward?
From where I stand, I would say, you can say it's for the DA to have won, either the Tshwane and the Joburg municipality in this regard, it could have been a blessing in disguise for the ANC. For once, people were promised heaven, and it's easy to promise people of a world they've never seen. But they were promised jobs, they were promised clean governance, they were promised all these beautiful things that imaginary. Worst of all, probably they were promised that you'll have the Atlantic Ocean somewhere next to Tembisa. That has not happened. Now people are able to see that the promises that the DA has made are failing. They are unable to deliver. As we speak now, the DA, its finances have collapsed. There is no creation of jobs that has been undertaken by the DA. Same applies to Tshwane. Cities are getting more dirtier. The residents are getting less proper services. Some will say our lights are getting on and so forth. But in actual and in real realities, in townships all over your Gauteng areas, it is getting worse and worse. People are able to see that we can now judge the DA as opposed to the promises they've made. They're continuously failing us. Same applies to the EFF. The EFF has promised that it's a party that is fighting for the land, that land first, that it shall be, make sure that we fight for our land, that our people must get land. Immediately it went to coalition, immediately get into marriage with the DA. What do? They support motions that will ensure that the people are removed from the land. So it's a reflection that says that what people say they will not deliver.
Is it a true test, though? Is that the true report of the successes or failures of Councillor Herman Mashaba?
Look, Sandy, it's in politics, a day is enough to survive in office. It's more than a year now that Mr. Mashaba is sitting in office. And I think it's sufficient enough to say the budget has been presented and what is the status of finances of the city at the moment. We all know where we are sitting, that the status of finances of the city are in tatters. But also it is not true, and I like what the ANC representative said, it's not true that the DA inherited a bankrupt city of Joburg. That's not true. We know that on record, on paper, the city was not bankrupt, okay? However, also the defense of the DA in this process, to stand up and say ANC was corrupt, they will go to court. There's a difference between being an ineffective, incompetent administration and a corrupt administration. If the ANC was corrupt and they've got cases, even if Herman Mashaba is removed, whoever takes over can still take those cases and go to court. So it does not have to depend on Herman Mashaba. They can't use it as their ace to say they want to remove Herman Mashaba because Herman is taking them to court. No. It is the city of Joburg that is taking whoever is purported or suspected to be corrupt to court. It is not an individual. Therefore, we must separate politics from this whole administration. And I think it is indeed a challenge. It's over a year, over 100 days. People always put 100 days. It's over 300 days. And therefore, let's see what happens tomorrow.
All right, we're certainly watching with keen interest. Thanks so much, Botsang Mwilwa, political analyst. And we have Mosiri Tsiane, South African Liberty Foundation chairperson. Thanks for your time. And you at home, thanks for watching. We take a quick break. And coming up next is SARS Commissioner, Mr. Tom Moyane. Do join us for that interview.